Dr. Daniele Lapa. He's from the Laboratory of Virology and Biosafety of the Hospital Spallanzani. For those who are not Italian, Spallanzani is our hub when there is a bio emergency in Italy. First patients coming in Italy with Ebola, Spallanzani. First COVID positive, Spallanzani. So when there is a very important bio problem, they are on first line, and they are prepared on training and education and research every day to face the main biological emergency in Italy and in the world. I am thankful to Dr. Lapa that is coming now since a few years to do this lecture. I am honored also to say that he has been graduated to the second level master course, and he will be one of the chairperson of the biological session at the conference that we will have in September. So Daniele, thank you so much for coming. I leave you the floor.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you. Nice to meet you. My name is Daniele Lapa. I'm a virologist. I work in BSL-3 and BSL-4 laboratory with pathogen liver 3 and liver 4 usually, but also with other viruses when arrive emergency situation. Today I speak on general procedure and handling of group 3 and 4 pathogen, general aspect to introduce biosafety and biosecurity laboratory procedure. There are here some definition. Risk group is defined as a classification of pathogenic microorganism for your epidemiology, presence of operation, presence of therapeutic treatment or vaccination. For example, here there are classification biosafety level is built with risk group because pathogen of group 1 of risk group 1 don't work in laboratory liver 4, but a pathogen of liver 4 of risk pathogen risk 4 you work in BSL-4. For example, influenza, seasonal influenza, you work in BSL-2 usually, but not avian influenza that you work in BSL-3 and not work in BSL-4. Biosafety, there is it's important definition of biosafety and biosecurity because there is in some case confusion between biosafety and biosecurity. Biosafety is the protection of personal and environmental from a risk arising from the use or accidental release of biological material. For example, in the world, there are situations of incident of personnel that are infected with biological material. For example, in the past, when there were not this classification and there were not a biosafety laboratory. In some cases, there were brucellosis epidemic cause for incident in a laboratory, for example. Instead, biosecurity is another important definition that you use in laboratory of biosafety because refer operation, procedure and measure to prevent a loss and control or the intentional misappropriation of pathogen. For example, if there is alarm, l'alarm in biosafety laboratory is defined as biosecurity, and it's all procedure, or if there is alarm that call police is defined as biosecurity, and this is different with biosafety. Biosafety important, for example, when they use DPI that they use for protection of person, and so. In this figure, the rating for range from 1 to 4 level, and the numerical values increase with hazard pathogen. So Ebola is classified, or Climacongo is classified for level 4 and not level 3 and 2. During in the biosafety level 3 laboratory, in this laboratory, and all potential infected material but must be carried out outside the BSG. BSG is the, for example, glove box that you use for to handling the pathogen level 3 on level 4. In BSL3 is very dangerous when you centrifugate with container pathogen, and it's important when you work in BSL3 the presence of the second colleague, because you work under glove box, for example, and the second person help you to centrifugate the sample. You maintain the handling under the glove box, and the second person use the centrifugate help you in all situation, important situation. It's important when you work in BSL3 and BSL4 health surveillance, because the person that work in this laboratory, there is a medical examination, all the stuff, blood analysis, because there is a control for this person. For example, instead, when you work in BSL4, the person that work in BSL4, there is examination and surveillance of the specific person in all period that you work in BSL4. For example, this is because if you arrive the fever when you stay at home, it's very important call the director, the medical doctor, because there is a procedure of isolation staff, not only operator, but also the colleague. The staff in hospital and not at home is an isolated person. When you work in BSL3, yes, before to work the first time in BSL3, is important to sampling serum T0 before to work in BSL3. Because if in everything situation you can compare the blood when before you work in BSL-3 and after you work in BSL-3 to understand if you infected in BSL-3 or infected before BSL-3 and therefore in other situation. The risk group classification, risk group 1, no all individual and community risk, it's very easy. Risk group moderate individual risk and low community risk is a usual pathogen that work in all laboratory. For example, influenza, seasonal influenza is classified with group 2, but not avian influenza that classify as 3, as risk group 3. That risk group 3 is a high individual and low community risk. Different situation in BSL-4 that you have high individual and community risk. It's because there is no therapy, because there is no vaccine, because it's the mortality and morbidity is very high. Individual risk, collective risk are classified depend on effectivity, pathogenicity, transmissibility, and host spectrum and neutralizability of virus. For example, it's very different if there is if exists a pathogen or if exists a vaccine or therapy for a pathogen, because I classify between 3 or 4 group risk. Same situation. It's important spread to the community is laboratory category level 3 likely and 4 high risk. Also effective prophylaxis available in category 3. It's not available in our group risk 4. And this is the classification procedure. There are international organizations that use this procedure. For example, WHO, CDC of Atlanta, and PhD Laboratory Biosafety Guideline. Exist guideline, international guideline. It's very important that all the world use usually this procedure, this guideline. Well, for example, instead in Africa, use procedure of WHO and CDC, African CDC, because CDC is a system that controls infection disease. Is in Atlanta, USA. It's very similar to WHO. Instead, in Europe, there is a CDC. Exists a CDC in ASEAN, exists a CDC in Africa. It's different, but same procedure. So the relation for group risk and biosafety level, the countries should have a national classification of biorisk by risk group taking in account. So we classify to pathogenicity of organism, mode to transmission of this organisms, local availability of preventive measure, and local availability to effect treatment. When arrive a situation of person infected with pathogen group 4 is very difficult for clinician, for medical doctor, because there is no treatment, there is no vaccine, and for example, when arrived Ebola in Italy with 2 cases 10 years ago, the patients are risk high to death because there are not a specific therapy on this person for Ebola, but you use experimental therapy in according to WHO, because in this situation WHO tell International Institute and authorize to use experimental experimental drugs to try the self life of the person, because it's better you use experimental drug and not the person. And in some situation, in a lot of situations, is experimental drug. It's a good response. Biosafety level laboratory, it's very different in BSL-3 for BSL-3 and BSL-4, because in BSL-3 work a lot of person. In BSL-4 there are only specific person that work, because it's very difficult. The building structure is very different with BSL-3 because the negative pressure is very different, and the height in BSL-4. There is in BSL-4 you use show biosafety, biological safety cabinet. Airlock with the shower is present in BSL-4 and not present in BSL-3. And anteroom with BSL-4 usually is present in BSL-3 and also BSL-4. But it's very important effluent treatment in BSL-4. Effluent treatment is mandatory. In BSL-3, no. But it's important if you treat the waste in BSL-3 and in BSL-4. But in BSL-4 is very important. It's mandatory, okay? Because if the waste you not treat this waste, water waste, this water is spread in environmental in the city, for example. It's very important, for example, in BSL-4, but not in BSL-3, the personal safety monitoring capability. For example, it's important that in BSL-3 you can, for example, work also alone when you have a lot of experience. In BSL-4, you must work mandatory minimum 2 person, and it's very important in the structure of laboratory the presence of the window, that a person outside the window can see the person that work inside in BSL-4 laboratory. It's very important closed circuit television to work the situation, to work to see the situation, to control the person the staff that work in BSL4 is the work is all okay, or if there are.
Sorry, when you work alone,
Yeah.
I was a lab manager in a laboratory, a chemical laboratory.
Yeah.
Those years. So, do you have any device that you need to, let's say, to touch each 10, 15 minutes just to send a signal that everything is okay? So someone else, because we had something like this. So you are by yourself. We have glow box with enough gas and
Glowbox or Glowbox in BSL4, BSL3, you use the cabinet, the
it's
normal
only
cabinet.
so it's even a little bit more dangerous because you don't have. I mean, you have laminar flow maybe, but you can come in touch with something.
Usually, we work in BSL3 in 2 person,
Okay.
usually.
Yeah.
But there are situations that if you, for example, also read a plate using microscope, you can work also alone. In BSL4, no.
But in that case, when you are alone, do you have any kind of, this system of checking on you,
Yeah.
even if nobody's there?
Yes, yes.
You need to send them, I mean, each 15 minutes, okay, I'm okay. So if
No,
after an hour,
when you work alone, I enter, and my colleague here, I enter in BSL3. And if there is a problem, there is in BSL3, also in BSL4, in BSL3, there is a telephone number if there is a problem. But it's easy to enter in BSL3 and help the problem. And in BSL3, there are also the window that you see the person, the work. Same situation in BSL4, but in BSL4 it's a very long time to prepare to use the suite, and it's important the person is near. But I not call the person. I call the person, my colleague, when I start, when I only went in BSL3. Okay. But not all time yes, yeah. For example, instead is during is a student that work in BSL3, for example, on the thesis. The person, if work, for example, in Sunday for for an experiment in Sunday, it's important the authorization, because there is not person in laboratory or there are one person, is the authorization of director of laboratory to enter in Sunday in laboratory or in the night. Okay, because all person know this situation, and I use a telephone number turn off in the evening, for example, on the Sunday. Okay, of the surveillance is very important.
so can you bring your smartphone inside?
No.
Okay.
There is never. No, there is not. There is not. Never. No. In BSLT there is a telephone specific of. Okay. No. But I use my telephone number outside. BSL4, the name is different in other country. Physical containment level, PCL or BSL 1, 2, 2, 4 in Europe. New the security biologique in France, containment level in Canada, safety level in Germany. It's different in different country, use different name in some country.
Sorry, Bob.
But the whole organization use the CDC guidelines or not? In Europe, for example.
WHO, CDC and SCDC, same guideline. Same guideline, yes.
The same groups and same.
Yes, same. When you work in BSL3, usually you work with pathogen level 3, but not only pathogen level 3, but if you work with a big quantity of produce viruses, for example, the company produce for the vaccine, for the therapy, on a big, a large volume of viruses. You work also if classify risk group 2, you work in BSL3 because you use a large volumes of virus or high concentration of this pathogen. Because it's important to previous possibility infection or epidemic inside the hospital or the structure. So BSL-4 laboratory represent the highest level of biological containment. About 15 years ago in the world, there were about 10 or 15 BSL-4 laboratory. Now there are more 50 maximum height containment, principally after the pandemic, COVID pandemic. A lot of country build on the program to building the BSL for laboratory. Most them laboratory is present in Europe and the United States, major, but is present also in Asia, and the 2 laboratory for level 4 is present also in Africa. And this BSL-4, it's the building of BSL-4 is very expensive, and we cannot why a lot of country, also some country more dangerous, work building a BSL-4 laboratory. When you use a BSL-4, all laboratory staff and the supervisors are competent in handling the pathogen group 3 and principally group 4. The laboratory of group 4 is a control access. Only some person work in BSL-4, and to work in BSL-4 it's very important a strong training in Italy in this situation, but also training in other country to have experience to manipulate BSL-4, manipulate pathogen level 4. It's important for characteristic of BSL-4 laboratory, the control air system. Negative pressure must be maintained in the facility. It's a very strong negative pressure. And decontamination of effluent, it's very important to produce environmental situation, environmental epidemic. A double door and pass-through autoclave must be available in laboratory. Airlock entry points for specimen, it's very important. Emergency powers, it's mandatory because if there is a problem, there is a mandatory emergency power. And also containing drain must be installed in laboratory. There are two different BSL-4 laboratory. When you use a BSL-4 laboratory with suite, it's a BSL-4 laboratory. When you use a glow box inside the laboratory, the name is BSL-3 plus. BSL-3 plus is different to BSL-4, but in BSL-3 plus and BSL-4 you can work with pathogen group risk 4. Why? In this situation, for example, is a BSL-3 plus. You handling the sample positive in this glow box cabinet, glow box, where you inside there are only handling and the negative pressure in this cabinet is measured to compare the outside the cabinet. For example, if the BSL-3 plus in environmental, I have a pressure minus 30. For example, in the cabinet, I have the negative pressure minus 50. And therefore, there is no problem, and therefore you can manipulate the pathogen liver 4. In this cabinet there is alarm if in the case if there are problems. The sample enter here. Here there is a person that work. Here there is a second person that help the person who can work, and the second person give the sample inside these windows in this camera, and the person that work here open these windows and use the sample or the material and close the windows. It's very important if this window is open, this window is closed. When you close these windows, you open these windows, because it's very important not open two windows because start the alarm, because there is not a situation, biosafety situation, and because the pressure negative is decrease, okay? Because you open two windows and this environmental is contact with outside environmental, and it's difficult to work this glow box. This
But that's antechamber. It's an antechamber. When you open what inside, since I see that there is no circulation in the antechamber, it's supposed to be contaminated somehow, just the chamber. When you open the window inside,
if if outside the sample it's contaminated, but when to open the windows, you use material for decontamination. Okay.
So you
Alcohol or
decontaminate.
yes, always. Usually we use here we use a paper with alcohol or with other chemical material to clean. Yes. And the sample when enter the sample is not a direct contact with this space, but with the paper with chemical product. And therefore, with the photo, it's important to person, because when you work in this situation, you stay only this and not outside science glue box. BSL4 with the use pressurized suite is completely different procedure. It's very difficult to work because the structure is difficult when you use the suite. It's difficult when you dress. It's difficult when you undress. There is also the building structure is different. And it's mandatory the chemical shower after the work. In other situation, there is not a chemical shower because you don't use BSL, the pressurized suite. Okay. But use the after when in BSL4 with Glowbox use this suite, and after the work you waste this suite. Not in this situation. Okay. In this situation, it's important a chemical shower, because this suite is very expensive. One suite about depend the company, but 10,000 euro one suite, but it's resistant to naturally to chemical shower, but it's mandatory chemical shower. Because after the chemical shower, you share with the water and this suite exit to BSL4, and it's very important. It's a strong chemical shower, and this is a web of describe the operational of BSL4 dressing with the suite, pressurized suite.
These suites are custom made for the operator, or there are some like MXL?
Depend, because it's very expensive. If usually in BSL4 with the suite work the staff, permanent staff. And therefore, there are 7, 8, maximum 10 persons that can authorize it to work here. And usually you have a personal suite, but you use also 2 or 3 suite if one M, one S, one L. When the user if a suite is broke, okay. It's very important before to work in BSL4 check completely the suite, because if you work in BSL4 not check the suite and BSL4 the suite is broken, it's a problem, okay.
Generally working pair.
Yes. Here describe same situation. It's there is a guideline, a laboratory biosafety manual of WHO, and describe the differences with the laboratory, class 3 cabinet or globe box laboratory in BSL 3 plus. Same situation, but more difficult when you work with animal. We work in Spallanzani not with animal, because in Italy we are not authorized to work in animal in BSL4. Only in BSL3 in veterinarians can work in BSL3 with animal. Zooprophylactic in Italy that work BSL3. BSL4 in Italy, the law is not authorized to work in BSL4 now. But in other country, yes, in United States work with monkey, for example. And in BSL4, when you use animal, it's very difficult. It's very important expertise in BSL4, and after work, after you have a big experience in BSL4, you can work with animal in BSL4, because in laboratory animal facility BSL4 is a BSL4 inside a BSL4. Here, for example, there is a BSL4, and here there is another BSL4 for animal, because inside there is a stabulatory. There is animal life, and therefore it's dangerous, infected animal life, because you have important the presence of incinerator for the carcass animal, for the fluid of animal, and and therefore it's very important the experience, because very dangerous incident in BSL4 with animal is more high probability, because if there is a rat or other animal that can create an incident, okay. And usually work the veterinarians person, but in other country work biology with work with animal after a strong training. So here situation when height containing ambulance of Spallanzani team when there arrive a suspect case, for example from Africa, from Asia, and in collaboration with military Aeronautica, Italian, and arrive high containment ambulance present in Spallanzani, go in usually in Pratica di Mare airport, and the patients transfer in Spallanzani. And this is a situation of simulation. This is same situation, a simulation. There is different isolator, high transit isolator, stretch transit isolator. But use the medical doctor to transport the person. The person are in this case Spallanzani team personnel, medical person, but also military person, aeronautic military. This is instead is not a simulation. When suspect case of hemorrhagic fever arrive in Italy, suspect is a Crimea-Congo fever. A person with hemorrhagic syndrome con history of tick bite, because Crimea-Congo virus transmitted by a tick bite. Tick bite present also in Italy. And this person returned from Nepal. Sick. And when arrived these patients, the patient is isolated in clinical department, started laboratory diagnosis, but it's very important in this case the differential diagnosis, because you suspect Crimea-Congo virus, the results are dengue virus. And because the symptoms, the initial symptom is specific and similar. History of tick bite, when a person tell me that I have a history of tick bite, for me, and show hemorrhagic fever, the first suspect is usually Crimea-Congo virus, but instead the dengue virus. Dengue virus can cause also hemorrhagic fever, but transmitted not by tick bite, but mosquito. Here situation instead during Ebola epidemic, it's a patient 0 repatriated from Africa, is a medical doctor, lived in Sicily region, and it's a person 15 years old, is first mission in Sierra Leone. There are a lot of strong epidemic of Ebola. Today not clear, so he became infected. When you work in this situation in Africa, it's very important, it's very dangerous, and high probability to contaminate when undress, not with dressing the suite, but during the undress, because you are contact with direct patients infected with Ebola, and for example, you have the suite with blood of the patients infected with Ebola, and it's very it's very dangerous when undress during epidemic of this situation, in particular in country with health system very, very low. And this person is treated with experimental treatment with drugs like convalescent plasma, and this person it's now it's live comeback in Sicilia, and in this situation, Air Force aircraft start Pratica di Mare, arrive in Sierra Leone, boarding the patients and come back in Italy, arrive in Pratica di Mare, and with ambulance arrive in Spallanzani. In this situation, BSL-4 in Italy are present in Spallanzani, but also in Sacco in Milano, but now Sacco in Milano have some problem. When you work, when you have a break, you tell me a break, You 10 minutes. If
10 minutes break.
10 minutes break, 10 minutes break.
No, era un laboratorio chimico. No, laboratorio chimico, però non usavano materiali non utilizzati. E quindi io
Scusi, una informazione.
Dimmi.
Vabbè, Spallanzani è uno dei 2 ospedali in Europa, penso, no?
No, in Italia, in Europa ce ne stanno di più forti,
Germania,
Germania, c'è un po' tutti i paesi d'alto livello,
ok.
lavorano con gli animali.
Ma quindi a livello dei laboratori sono definitivi con gli adegutivi
No, i gruppi,
separazione dei gruppi praticamente.
però
A livello 1 è quello
vabbè, l'università. Le 3-4 che è stato utilizzato il Ministero di appositamente
ma la decontaminazione all'interno cioè, che decontaminanti viene utilizzato?
allora utilizza
Che sei chimico o vaporizzare?
allora, per quanto riguarda l'ambiente, utilizzi il perossido di idrogeno. Quando tu devi contaminare l'ambiente, le macchine vengono utilizzate il perossido di idrogeno. Perché prima si utilizzava non si poteva che una legge sul plastico, quindi si poteva l'ambiente. Invece la doccia chimica utilizza l'acido peracetato. Acido peracetato.
Ok. Quelle sono le personalizzate con la bombola.
No, non c'è la bomba. C'hai una cosa che si fa.
Ah, ok. Però comunque sia c'è un sistema di ventilazione interno, respiri con. Ok. Vabbè, certo, perché lavorare pure con la bomba è limitato.
E generatori che ti dà l'ossigeno deve essere oil free.
Certo.
Perché sono poi le microparticelle.
Certo, deve essere assolutamente, deve avere una linea dedicata, insomma, perché io lavoro a settimo.
Ah, stai a Civitavecchia?
Sì, siamo in telefono.
Quindi stai con
Lui
De Masi.
Sì, con lui.
Sento abbastanza per questo collaborare.
Perché laboratorio chimici.
Sì.
Sarebbe un biologi?
No, io non sono biologo. Il biologo è Antonio Scornaro, un tuo collega. No, no, io ho quando stiamo famiglia. Siamo un po' in mezzo a gestire. Ci sono tutta una serie di capacità. Insomma. Ci sono delle ragazze che sono abilitate, insomma, lavorare nei laboratori nostri.
Io quello gli ho detto abbia livello 3 più o meno. Che se tu fai il biologi, cioè devono assumere il mio quanto riguarda che noi collaboriamo. Sì, però non è possibile che hanno due biologi in croce e poi trasferiscono una volta dalla lista, studio scienze della difesa, una volta trasferiscono per esempio per lui.
Sì, la cosa
Che è stato trasferito e quindi sì,
no, infatti quello è un dramma anche del percorso di... Cioè, fanno 4 anni, 5 anni e poi vanno via. E non hai una continuità, sì, quello sì.
è importante che ci sia una continuità e se ci sia un'expertise che si porta se comincia da capo. Non fosse mai no, io comunque io parlo con o ecco loro diciamo sui contratti fissi e poi le lavorazioni qualche anno. Anni fa c'era mica speranza. Poi
Sì, sì, no, è un che poi lavoratrice, sì, sì. Oddio, Vincenzo alla fine è rimasto nel mestiere, insomma, è andato comunque sta lì, però effettivamente, ma per fare diciamo, uno scambio per fare un training on job.
Sì, no, faccio training on job alle persone, poi dopo un anno le persone ho capito. Cioè, mi interessa, nel senso che comunque collaborare su delle cose e
Sì, anche perché
volta non c'hanno le persone per la fare.
ok, ok, ma questo tipo di collaborazione vengono distribuite con l'ambito della difesa civile, senza no?
No, io mi chiamo
Oppure come, diciamo,
tra due istituti.
Ah, tra due
Sì,
istituti.
mi chiamo io, lui mi chiama me, o mi chiama lui.
Ah, è una collaborazione, si può fare una collaborazione diretta, quindi c'è l'autorizzazione di questa chi, insomma.
Se dipende dal tipo di collaborazione, però da noi, da parte nostra, no, da parte vostra, pensavo che ieri se non sei giorni.
Mezzo
Cose, soprattutto quando li invito.
vedo che rientri nell'istituto nell'istituto di collaborazioni, noi li chiamiamo cioè, anche perché voglio dire, nel caso in cui dovesse succedere qualcosa, noi siamo autorizzati alla fine sempre dalla prefettura, cioè non è che siamo stati in un'organizzazione di difesa civile. No, quindi quello nostro, diciamo, oltre ad essere diciamo, prettamente un qualcosa che si deve esprimere a livello militare, deve essere anche qualcosa che si può esprimere certamente a livello nazionale. Però da questo punto di vista, insomma, ci sono sempre altre autorità che si mettono, diciamo, che non ti dicono mai di no, però sai, un conto è poter essere impiegati direttamente quando succede qualcosa, e un conto invece è quando qualcuno deve dire quello che devi fare.
Certo.
Ci sono sempre lì, ci sono sempre i limiti. Però non lo sapevo che forse le operazioni di training con gioco.
No, se diciamo in generale le lavorazioni da lavoro.
Vado vacanze? No, vado solo da parte. Ma dai. Poi che no. Perché non ci fate soltanto, sono mezzi.
No, invece l'ultimo giorno presenza. Per poi finito. Finito. Ancora non non ci dai. Anzi, sai, quando mi sento dire che era tanto poi stai
Devo dire qualcosa per lavoro.
bisogno che prima di Questa settimana più di devo sorpresa per
Oggi è giovedì. Io speravo nel quarto d'ora accademico, io tanto lo sapevo già da stamattina che ci hanno fatto un attimo più tardi, ho detto oggi iniziamo alle 9:05 precisi. Di tutti i giorni che abbiamo fatto,
Siamo abituati.
sono abituati al quarto d'ora accademico, l'unico giorno.
Sono arrivata qua alle 8:55, io. Poi ho perso sono però io ho visto loro, sono appena capito.
una tappa. Guarda.
Una tappa, esatto. Ho detto, cioè, adesso oggi non fa premio.
Oggi
Perfetto. No,
ho preso 3 giorni l'ombrello, oggi non ho preso.
no, l'ho preso io, vedi? L'ho preso io così non piove. A me è venuto un attimo oggi, dai, ieri sera, ma c'era il vento. Infatti, oggi quello sono venuta giacca dentro, pesante, quella è la giacca invernale per sciare. Ma l'ho comprata, in realtà ho comprato mia mamma, l'ho trovata che quando fanno i saldi, magari delle cose fuori stagione, o tra virgolette, i vecchi modelli, di tutto, dell'Unila, in realtà. Ho detto ieri per venire vestita bene, mi sono preso il freddo, ho detto no, come questa la felpa, mi è solda.
Comunque girano per fine settimana, Pasqua, calma. Mi fa d'amore che si vede.
Molto bene. Ma non so Milano, che ho preso il vento neanche il vento non tanto proprio più freddo,
Scusa, Milano?
Milano Sud, tutta la campagna è vero, sì, a Sagra, io abito a Sagra. Il forum, bisogna fare i giochi invernali, non ha fatto parte anche dei giochi invernali, quindi è sud di sinistra. Praticamente tranquilla, poi. Però lì non è che c'è tantissimo mondo da adesso, però veramente abbastanza. Quindi io dicevo, c'è sempre 5 gradi, qua c'è 5 gradi in più, sì, 6 gradi in più.
Secondo me è più
Caldo.
no, serve più mio, ma non.
L'ho portato su perché ho detto, ma non si sa mai, la porta una giacca calda. Me la porto, ma. E poi
Vabbè, però insomma,
E poi sono venuti
fino alla situazione di settimana. Inizio già la primavera quasi così. Sì, la prima recentemente. Insomma,
non ci sono. Non ci sono.
E anche c'è il vento, ma non c'è il sole, non ti scaldi l'acqua.
Male appartamento c'è la condizionata, ho bisogno di
Abbiamo fatto la pompa di calore anche la mezza.
Non so che dire questo.
Prime due in laboratorio.
No. Do we have also an online connection or not? Is there also an online connection or not this time?
I don't know. I think yes.
C'era quello di ieri. Recipe?
You put your presentation on this laptop.
Ah,
Yeah.
Ah, ok.
Se adesso lo diceva.
Non sa.
Però.
Yes.
La prima dimostrazione c'era che sono state eliminare. Che faccio per andare
Vai,
avanti?
step, step, allora. E poi 15
Before all the donning and doffing stuff.
Yes,
Trained procedure.
yes.
questo quello costa 10.000 euro.
No, mi proprio di no.
Anche per controllo devono mettere le
Certo, mi piace. Poi tempi sto facendo magari mi prendo l'ultima tanto.
quelle della di fuori.
Fino. Sì.
Non trovavo noi. Non bellissimo. Amici da laboratorio sono accompagnati dalle superiori.
Penso che siano tipo consigliatori. Con gli attori.
No, se no, no, ma
Ragazzi,
no, senza.
sì, no, lui ormai è
Faccia abbiamo svolto esperienza che stavo tutti dire con le mani. Quindi non era necessario mi ritrovo niente. Non devo fare una so che anche devono i prodotti così vanno. No, noi l'abbiamo usato poco, però c'è una sorella che diceva che avete più mano lasciato perché qua non si sentiva. È capitato che stavo partendo.
Non so come fa, si fa avviare questa gente. Vabbè, la gente che ha voglia di lavorare. Ma per carità, io ho visto insomma se ti proponi nessuno ti dice no. No, quello è tutta iniziativa. Sì, infatti, tutta iniziativa. Poi sta a te se carica delle rogne. Esatto. Ma qualcosa mi arriva dentro. Io, laboratorio, chiunque mi guarda sei che 24.
Vabbè, per la parola di scuola non ci sono queste.
Appena mi guardavo 24, 24. Ah, spendevo 15.000 euro di guanti. Sì, no. Alla fine del tutto della partita da prendere pure 60. Tanto, ma guarda mai. Però mi sa
San Pietrino.
no, e poi qua è facciatissima come situazione.
Sì, c'è solo il bar. So we can start. So when we work important in BSL3, but more important in BSL4, when you use it's important the presence of point of care testing to analyze biochemical parameters, and it's important also to differential analysis. For example, when arrive a person infected with pathogen group 4, you use this point of care to analyze different analytics, protein, urea, albumin, different analytics to show indication of medical doctor. And it's important also when arrive a suspect case, use instrument to analyze the other pathogen. For example, in this case, la dengue use, but also chikungunya. But differential analysis we use not with this instrument. We use test for malaria, because the malaria and hemorrhagic fever is very same situation in some cases. For example, few months ago, arrived in Spallanzani suspect case of hemorrhagic fever. We test for virus for hemorrhagic fever. Final results is malaria positive and no hemorrhagic fever. Is a person did inside the home with hemorrhagic fever, because this person come back from Africa, and because this person worked in Africa and come back, and the police 30 person did inside alone did inside in the home in the Friuli Venezia Giulia region with hemorrhagic fever symptom did. And the sample of cadaveric arrived in Spallanzani to understand if is the pathogen detection, because if the person did the with hemorrhagic fever virus, it's a high alarm, because you can call all passengers of aircraft and surveillance of all passengers, because you can spread epidemic situations. Okay. This is a situation, this picture in Africa, work mobile laboratory in Africa. In Africa, you have the two situation. If you work in country where there is a BSL-3 laboratory, you can work suspect case in BSL-3. If you work in Africa, in country where there is not a BSL-3, you use a mobile glove box, and you build laboratory mobile that is present. Mobile laboratory is present in this bag orange, and you build a structure with mobile lab, and you build also a small glove box to manipulate the sample. And in this mobile glove box, you work, you inactive the sample, and after you work outside outside the glove box and work in normal laboratory. In this picture is a website of Global Biolab. and describe the distribution of laboratory of level 4 and BSL3 plus and the BSL4 in the world. And you can see its major laboratory is present in Europe and in United States. Some cases also in Africa, also present also in Asia, but the major laboratory is present in Europe and United States because it's very expensive. The important laboratory BSL4 that work with animal is present in Australia. Australia is the top of laboratory BSL4. When you manipulate with pathogen group 3 or 4, it's very important risk assessment because before you work with pathogen, you must know the pathogen. What is the pathogen? The pathogenicity, the period of incubation, and etc. And it's very important to study this pathogen. When you transport package and transportation on samples, it's very important the triple warp principle. The sample is present in the here, for example, here inside the peak here, you close is 2, and this bag you close in a third bag, and you attach outside the third bag the destination, the classify of infection substance if a substance category A or category B. Category A is infection height dangerous. For example, Ebola is a category A, influenza is category B. Okay, and right, but also the destination. When instead arrive the sample in laboratory, you must open the bag inside the biosafety laboratory. If there is suspect case, you can open the bag inside the BSL3. Instead, if the person, laboratory staff, when arrive the sample is really confirmed to BSL for pathogen liver 4, you open mandatory in a BSL4. For example, the person that arrived from Ebola with Ebola infection, I open in BSL4. But a suspect case of hemorrhagic fever, I can open in BSL3. It's line guideline of international procedure. It is the same situation. Describe the protocol to create a packaging and transportation, different category A, category B. And it's a table that describe for some pathogen, only pathogen present in culture, and therefore in culture I use pathogen group 3 only present in culture. I use for the transportation classification category A. When 2814 it's a category that describe height dangerous. For example, in this table describe la Francisella turirensis or avian influenza. Encephalitis, Japanese encephalitis, it's when producing culture and therefore you produce a virus, is you must consider high pathogen, dangerous, and therefore category A and UN 2814. And you write inside outside the third bag when there is the transportation. In some cases, there are from the past incident in a laboratory, principally in BSL-4, but also in BSL-3. In this case, some years ago, Hungarian scientists exposed with Ebola because in Hungarian work with animal. But this person not manifested symptom for Ebola, and with the surveillance, the person not manifested this symptom, but there is an incident in this laboratory. And therefore it's very important the surveillance. Usually suggest a format for medical contact. You offered each operator that work in BSL-3 on BSL, in particular in BSL-4. It's very important at this format in the bag when you don't work, because tell if you have a fever when to stay in holiday and you work with BSL-4 pathogen, the other person can contact the hospital, referent hospital or doctor of reference. When you work in BSL-3 and BSL-4, before to work, it's very important registration. It's very important name, surname, important the hour that you work in BSL-3 and BSL-4, the time you start, the time you finish. And in BSL-3 you can also exit of laboratory after, for example, during experiment incubation. If you have 1 or 2 hour incubation of experiment, you can exit, undress with the suite and exit of laboratory BSL-3, and after 1 or 2 hours come back in BSL-3. This situation not in BSL-4. Dressing and undressing, dressing procedure, you use a cap over shoes, fists, pair of gloves, shears or jumpsuit, second pair of gloves, and filter, the mask. And undressing procedure, vice versa. So when you undressing, remove the coat, remove the product gloves, remove the facial filter, take off a second gloves, pair gloves, and go at dirty part to locker room, and you clean part. When you exit from laboratory, you go in toilet to work to clean with hand. Okay, now, we can practice you for dress and dressing of an example. for BSL3 and BSL3 Plus and for BSL4. Therefore, two person volunteer to dress and undress you. Ok.
Sì, dove c'è la componente anche femminile. Uno per tre, due per
Facciamo il fulmine, già così.
per dire, forse le faccio detto di fare le foto.
Sì.
No, perché adesso si è interrotta giusto.
7 rose, sì. Volevo rimettere questa in modo tale che loro lo vedevano.
Ok. Strana sta cosa però. Non so se magari spegnendo e riaccendendo
Questa è la base.
ma così di colpo se n'è andata?
Sicuramente l'ho messa facendo, tornando indietro, è diventata così e si è tolta.
Vediamo se ricliccando.
Ok, ok. Torna indietro di uno.
32 questa. Andrà avanti.
Sì. Ok. Sì,
Poi la metto in modalità schermo completo.
no,
Così
sì.
la-
Vai. Ok.
Indietro?
No, vai avanti.
Fai tu?
È quello più importante. Questo. Ok. Allora. Iniziamo.
Dai, occhiali.
Facciamo. Allora.
Non c'è problema.
She dress for level 3. Okay. So. Sequenza ok, quindi mettere prima e poi togliere per il no, vabbè.
Questo mi figo, massima protezione che ho avuto sono i guanti e il
Non dovresti fare male. Gira piece pile of goats. Okay. Sì, no, dopo.
questo deve essere. Non subito qua.
Motori per noi che tipo dai veicoli.
Non vedo niente. Vedo-
Di essere bene. Sì. Giro per l'acqua, non deve passare l'acqua non deve passare. Questo non deve passare. Questa roba l'acqua non deve
È incerto.
Sì, assolutamente. Oh, so this is situation is BSL3, but there is a problem because there is a personal object and you cannot use not to rush. You cannot use in laboratory this object, not watch and do you cannot dress with under the dress is, but there is a work dress. This is not okay for work and his, but you work on the device specific for the work. Okay. No. This is a person that can work in BSL3. Okay, no. The last step. No. The second file.
Second file, blue.
Sopra, sì.
Sopra.
Questo è un creatore di protezione, non devi dare che ti entra dentro.
Dov'è la presentazione qua?
Io ce l'ho Ah, sono sulla pennetta.
Ah, ok.
La mia pennetta. Ah, perché non c'è più la pennetta. E tu stavi perché stavi adesso?
Stavi nel
È stato aperto fino adesso perché mi sta appoggiando qua.
No, guarda, l'avrei messo io qua.
No, non è quello.
Magari pure ora.
Lo lascio.
Prelevo il campione.
Da lui. Non so, quelle stiringone lì. Quelle canzoni lì.
Aspetta,
Master.
aspetta, poi. Ma docenza master.
Io sono il quarto.
Sei il quarto.
Devo scapando.
No, sta più
Sono pronto, sì.
Ma questi costi di vestiti.
Vabbè, ma non ce ne stiamo. Se dobbiamo operare, dipende dove dobbiamo operare. Se dobbiamo, non c'è un militari, le cose, quindi se ci vestiamo da soli. Però se dobbiamo, dipende se devi fare le contaminazioni, dipende se devi fare come assestamento, come rischio assestamento, già stai, già sì, o dalle notizie, non so se tu hai più o meno tipo di range di materiali di protezione.
Tudor, English. There are person connected. English, not Italian.
Okay, so
English and loud voice.
now dress BSL4 Hip. Okay. Sopra. Sì.
How much does it cost, more or less, one personal equipment?
Usually in total it's 30 euro.
30?
Yes. But you use 1000
Sorry, never do this.
C'è doppiato.
No?
The gloves near the mouth, never.
No.
No, I want to show you that. Because
you change.
No, I show you.
Yeah.
So when we did this in the lab, not
Yes,
that dangerous
yes,
lab, but less dangerous lab, take out the gloves like this. If you want to reuse this, but just in our case,
Yeah.
you did this, okay?
Ah, ok.
Vai anche il
Si vede?
Aspetta,
But it was just with our.
Yes.
Okay, so let's say that you want to reuse this glove without puffing inside with your mouth. So you just do this. Then
Okay.
safer. Okay. There you go, pero
So,
che non devi mai averci.
perché può portare qualcosa di poi
no, io non lo so, tu da filtro personalizzato, ti devi comprare palle. No.
Quello è proprio.
Tanto problema è pureggi quando c'è la tuta filtro personalizzato.
Non per forza deve essere un problema.
Beh, insomma, comunque non è una bella aria che devi stare 30 minuti, se non già lo facevi sono problemi. Quindi,
Io li attaccare di eviterei per il
il meglio sono 3 ore.
appunto, me l'aiuto a dire, esci biondo, perché il Super Saiyan. Perché metto la musica per far video. Lo dovreste fare.
Vabbè, poi fa solo
È un po' comodo. Quindi compriamo l'audio e mettiamo la
La cuffietta proprio la scenografica come me.
Io mi fai il viso. Non lo so, mi è troppo stretto, strappa, ok? Also with the dress, it's important the second person, the help colleague. Ok, fermo così.
The mask is necessary or?
Ci sono i soldi, questo è un ammazza molto da lavoro, che voglio sono questo. Cioè, 30 questo.
E questo costerà.
Soffiare il monte. Usually the fifth pair you use in this case, for example, M. The second pair use L. Yeah, but I have only L. The woman use usually S and the second pair. Questo è solo un paio. Occhiali. Chiuso. Occhiali. Dentro. Ah. Okay, okay, in this situation, in this situation, you can work in BSL3 plus or BSL4, but don't work with pressure suite because you work only. You don't show with chemical shower, but after we undress, waste your DPI, and he can work only glow box and not using BSL for classic BSL for with pressure suite. When you use instead the pressure suite, don't use this DPI. Okay. Oh, the dangerous situation is undress because during undress you is height probability to contamination. Okay. In fact, in Africa, the marker contamination during undress, the personal worker, health care worker, during the undressing.
Storico. When we undressed, we work in pair or not?
Yes.
For undressed?
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
Each one with the same protection level.
yeah. Undress person, allora, so waist, it's very important to change because it's not clear. The gloves, togli, cambi. Il primo. Questo. Okay, waist here and And another.
Dov'è tu?
Sì, sì, di nuovo.
But there are also other rooms. Because I saw for
Quindi tre.
no,
Yes, so BSL3. Ah, capito.
L'allarmino.
ci sono altri no, questi
Sì, la cosa brutta.
Nitrilo latex.
Perdi la sensibilità.
no, perché tipo quelli chirurgici, sono pesanti, sono lunghi.
Quando lavori nel glue box.
Ah, quelli no.
Ok. Now undress the script.
Perché non può fare stili o stati dietro.
No, no, se lascio
Piccoli, sono pesanti.
So this session is very important. The person change here, he goes outside, change inside. He goes here, is clean. Okay, tira poi. Okay, touch.
The test the glove are inside or
It's inside. Okay, and wait.
Perché qui i gruppi sono puliti.
So change.
Mi sa che ce n'è uno, mi sa che è rimasto dentro.
Ah, una. Ok. No, ecco.
Ah, era buona, scusate.
Again.
Ah,
Excuse me, but
certo.
alone,
Yes, yes.
yes,
Yes. Yes. After time, you.
Vabbè, after training can do
In
it.
BSL3, always alone,
alone.
usually. BSL4, two person. No, also alone in BSL, but usually we undress in two. Okay. When you undress this, you clean with alcohol. Okay, and
Perché quelli si usano.
sì.
Ah,
Caro che costa le guardie.
Sì.
infatti. Del terzo.
Okay.
Caro che costa le guardie.
Now only one.
Che cosa che ti dico?
One destra, questa destra.
No, sì. Ah.
Undress the mask and the cap. Okay.
Come?
Okay. Togli il secondo paio di mano.
A questo punto ci voleva fatto di che
No, perché why? Now I exit from laboratory and arrive in anticamera. That there is a line, for example, I have this situation. Here there is a place that I work in. This is a clean place. Therefore, I usually no here. Togli questo. Allora, facciamo veramente. Vieni qua. Ok. Togli questo sinistro. I forci. No,
No?
but But there is not but there is a line or a small step, yes. And here, sorry. There is a line, okay? It's okay here. Therefore, here clean place here. Here. Yeah.
Do you have also the adhesive?
And yes, but yes.
Questo poi è
Okay. Okay, a change in other place. Tutti questi?
Yeah, usa a review.
Okay, and after you go with alcohol, with alcohol and go out in toilet to with soap and things. Same situation is more difficult.
The step is the unveil
Uh,
the glove.
The step is change
the glove.
Yes.
I know I'm a very guess, but
That's a lot of
no. But we have this standard procedure when you take out the glove. The first one you take out from inside, from outside, and the second one from inside.
Yes, but if I change inside, okay? But when I stay in other room, I touch and it's contaminated the environmental, and therefore when I change, I undress, I change it again.
You don't know, I meant for two hands. Yeah, the first one you take from outside, and the second glove, the other hand from inside.
No.
Ah, okay, you
No,
don't
no,
know.
no,
Okay,
no.
it was a procedure.
Carlo, pay attention.
Now. Okay, abbiamo sta. Same situation, but more dangerous. The cup.
Dietro.
Yeah. Okay. I help second operator help the fifth operator.
E ti porti dietro un paio di guanti.
If you want the possibility.
At this level, the second operator must be mandatory.
Just for yes.
Quite forward.
Doctor, I have a question.
Daniele, scusami, c'è una domanda dagli studenti connessi online.
Sì. 60.
Hi, doctor.
Yes.
I have a question. Can we use the J-type scissor or any cutter to make it much easier for removing the PPE?
Non capito.
Could you please repeat the question, please, and with a louder tone?
can we use the J-type scissor or any cutter to remove the PPE so we can make it easier for undress?
Sorry, we cannot hear you well. So if it's possible for you to type the question, we'll make sure to answer.
Can you hear me now?
So we can hear you, but very low. So if you can please repeat, I will make sure to put the mic closer so that we can hear you better.
Okay. I asked if we can use the J-type scissor or any cutter so we can use it to remove the PPE. So it will be easy for the undress. So is it possible in biological or not?
Se possiamo tagliare. No, we can use object in BSL4 and BSL3 that cut the material. We can use because it's dangerous. Use a material that cut, and we usually with not cut. It's never cut in our procedure. I don't know in other laboratory, but usually not use material objected that cut DPI. Because is if contaminated and you cut the sky, you contaminated the body. It's dangerous. Non so se mi ha capito.
Ok. Avete taken another pair of gloves.
Tolto il secondo paio? Il primo paio tolto?
Yeah,
Hai messo.
yeah, I will pay.
Hai cambiato? Già fatto. Ok.
Changed. So,
Yeah.
So clean with alcohol is change. Yeah.
only one.
Only one. Adesso.
Okay.
Ecco, temporaneamente. Ok, here. Ora di togliere. Non devo fare.
Okay.
No.
Only one.
Yeah.
Okay. Now you
Yeah,
stay.
border with the line.
These are the
or
line
stand.
for the line.
Okay.
That is the line.
Okay, it's a clean line. Okay. Okay. Clean with alcohol,
Okay.
and after you go in toilet and with water and the soap. It's very important when you finish, you come back in other room outside the laboratory for registration, final the end of the work. And it's very important. And it's important before you undress, you must start autoclave with material that you worked. And instead, before you start to work, before to dress, and when you register to enter, it's important eliminate the waste present in autoclave. Because a person, when finish to work, start autoclave, but not remain 2 or 3 hours to finish autoclave. But the other group that work in VSL3 laboratory before registration, before or during the registration, but before dress, discard the autoclave and eliminate the waste present in autoclave. And therefore, so after you worked the person, you can start a new autoclave to waste and sterilization material. And you must registrate that you start autoclave or not. If you, for example, there is a situation that more person work in BSL3, if you don't start autoclave, you must in the paper with registration you describe why you don't start autoclave, and you describe that another person after the work start autoclave.
It's a responsibility for operator.
Yes, it's a responsibility because if there is a problem in environmental in the city, and the case is this autoclave, call the person and okay,
Right. What's happen if maybe one gloves break during
change.
And
therefore it's very important, don't use objective that cut. Okay, because in laboratory, because there are problem, because the person, in fact the person that work with animal, it's very important because use material objective that cut animal, and there is an incident, big incident for a person. In this case, you start the emergency situation, the person arrive the ambulance, and the person remain isolated in clinical department for I don't know, depend of pathogen, but usually for period incubation, usually 3 or 4 days. Okay. And if you results negative for a pathogen, you don't exit for isolation, but there is a second sample after 24 hours to retest the sample. Double sample is if your algorithm is if you're negative of first sample after 1 days, there is something the second blood person and the second test, because for example in this situation there is a last day of incubation and start the symptom. Okay, this is algorithm, international algorithm usually. Okay, and I think start. Yeah, I think finish. So finish.
That's it. That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.